Hi friends and book lovers, welcome back to Kisty Reads. If you're new here, my name is Addie, and today I am going to be letting you guys in on my February TBR. I don't know how this happened, but I have the most buddy reads and one of my most anticipated releases coming out in February. I have a lot of books to read, and I think this might be my chunkiest TBR that I've done ever. I have like 6 or 7 books, but all of these books are just super chunky. They're like massive bricks of books, and I feel like it's gonna be a really busy reading month for me. So let's dive right into it. The first book I want to talk about is a super popular book on BookTube, and that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is on my series to read for 2021, and I read Warbreaker in January, and that wrap up is coming out soon. Spoiler alert, I loved it. And now in February, I am finally starting Way of Kings. I got the super beautiful, super floppy paperback, which I love because I can't really stand mass market paperbacks. If I can help it, I'll get the larger one, even if I have to pay the extra few dollars for it, but this one's beautiful. There's some really cool art in these books that I don't even know if they're in the books like normally. Like obviously the map is really beautiful, and then there's like art of I think whatever kind of characters we're gonna encounter, which I obviously haven't encountered yet. I'm excited to dive into this one. This is gonna be part of one of the book picks for Shelf Space. Someone had suggested it, and so a bunch of us are reading it this month, so I'm excited to share in this experience with some other folks that might either be rereading it or might not be familiar with the Cosmere, as I have not read this series yet. So it'll be my first time getting into it. I feel like everyone who reads these usually loves Brandon Sanderson and loves this series, the Stormlight Archive. So I'm excited to also figure out how I feel about it and hopefully read at least like the first 2 or 3 this year, and maybe get into his other Mistborn series later on. This next novel has been on my TBR for way too long, but I have way more motivation to get to it this month since it is a buddy read that I'm doing with Joanna over at Joanna's channel, and I'll link her down below. Plus, it is part of Books with V's book club pick of this month on her Discord. That is one of my favorite Discords, and I love to hang out on there, so I'm excited for us to read and share in this next book, and that's going to be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, I think we all know what this is about. It's kind of that Faustian deal where you make a deal with the devil and basically sell your soul. But in this one, Addie LaRue makes a deal with the devil, and she gets to live and be immortal, but she is swiftly forgotten by all those who meet her. So that is the paradox or deal that she lives with for her entire life. And I think there's also a romance in this book with the devil or something like that. I don't think the book centers around the romance, but I heard that there's like something going on there. Either way, I'm finally excited to get to this. This will be my first V.E. Schwab novel. I meant to read A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy before I got into any of her other works, but we're just not gonna do that. We're gonna start with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I'm gonna buddy read it, and hopefully I will enjoy it. I have heard really mixed reviews about this one. People either love it and the way that it's written, or they find it really slow and they just don't love it as much. So I'm intrigued to see what I'm gonna think of it, but I definitely have high hopes for this novel. The next one is part of one of my most anticipated releases for this year, and that is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I recently read the ACOTAR trilogy plus the novella over the holidays, and I just totally fell in love with it. I might actually end up rereading like a couple books in this series before I read A Court of Silver Flames, which comes out February 16th, but right now I'm anticipating that one, and that one is definitely on my docket for the month. There are a few folks that are reading this. I know that Moods and Pages book club is reading it when it comes out, and Abby on Shelf Space Discord is hosting like a book club pick for it as well. So I'll be participating in both, and I'm really excited for it. I did pre-order the Kindle copy because I'm just not going to wait until the physical copy comes in. I'm going to dive right in as soon as my Kindle copy drops. But I did order a hardback version of it as well, so that I have a physical copy of it, and I'm really excited. This centers around the characters Nesta and Cassian, and if you haven't read this series, then you can't really read this book. I know a lot of people have asked, oh, if I haven't read ACOTAR, can I read the new one that's coming out in the world? And I would say no, you need to read all 3 if you want to get to this one. It is a a fantasy romance series, but I really did enjoy it, and it's just a really fun, bingeable series by Sarah J. Maas. So if you want something that's fun, bingeable, and you like fantasy romance, I do recommend this one. I really enjoy it, and a few other booktubers really enjoy it as well. Cassian is one of my favorite characters in ACOTAR, and I also really do like Nesta, even though she's pretty hated across a lot of folks that are into this series. I personally really like her. I think she's a really interesting and complex character, and I certainly do relate to her in a few ways. So I'm excited to see how her character develops over the course of this book. I have heard Sarah J. Maas talk about this book during her live, and I do know that she is very close to this story and that she felt very like honored and touched writing it. So I feel like she probably poured her heart into it, and I am here for it. If you guys are reading A Quarter Soul Over Flames this month, please let me know, because I can always use more people to gush about this with, but there are a few of you that already are prepared to hear me talk about it with you once it comes out. All right, this next book is one that I'm told that you need to read in the winter. It is part of a series, and I have the first one that I got on sale a while back that I have never read, and I figured since I'm in New England and February is a pretty snowy, wintry month, that I would try to fit it in to this month's TBR pile, and that is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. A lot of folks read this last month on the Shelf Space Discord, but I was not able to join them because I had a bunch of other reads to finish, but it isn't very long, and I'm hoping that if I add and sneak this one in, it'll work. I have heard really wonderful things about this. The atmosphere is really beautiful, and it's very wintry, and it's very captivating. I heard that this one out of the three is not the most popular. I think the second and the third one in this series are much better, much more popular, but this one is still a good, enjoyable read. So keeping that in mind, I'm still intrigued and excited to dive into this one. A lot of folks have read it. If you read it, let me know what you thought of it and how you found it compared to the other books in the series, or if you didn't go through with the series for any reasons. But for me, I think I'll really enjoy this one, and I am really excited to get into it and talk about it with some friends that have already read it. This next one is a buddy read for a new Discord called the Shelf Published In, where authors that are self-published are highlighted. I almost said authors that are shelf-published because, yeah, it's really cute. It's a spin-off off of the Shelf Space Discord, which is why it's called the Shelf Published In, but whenever I say Shelf Published In, I want to say Shelf-Published Author, which I'm really trying not to have a list while I talk on this video, but it's a really fun Discord. I will leave Leslie from the Nerdy Narratives announcement video down below so you guys can check it out. I know that she has the Discord link in that channel description box, so go check it out if you're interested. And for the month of February, we are reading Wildcat by J.P. Harker. This is part of a series. I think there are 4 or 5 books in this series. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is the first one, and I've just heard really good things from folks that have read this series. I'm excited that it's on my radar because I don't think I would have heard of it if it wasn't for the Shelf Published In Discord. And look at this cover. Is it not just the fantasy cover of your dreams? I just find it really, really beautiful. And for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and read the synopsis so you guys get a better understanding of what it's about. I think that's the best way to explain it, but the synopsis is fairly short, so it won't take too long. Rhianwen of the Cateran is conflicted about giving up a warrior's life to become a wife and mother, but her love for her new husband is enough to at least make her consider it. However, with the conquering Gaians moving ever closer to her homeland, a peaceful life may no longer be an option for Rhea or for any of her people. With rival tribes, old suitors, and the dangerous General Lepidus to contend with, Rhea soon finds her new family in unprecedented danger, and her choices now must be about more than just herself. So for me, that description is really enticing. I know that there's going to be a lot of exciting adventure, and I think a lot of exciting magic in this novel, and I feel like as soon as I finish this one, I'm going to probably want to pick up the next one. It is definitely a chunkier book than what I was expecting at first, but honestly, the formatting in the novel makes it so that the text is kind of scrunched up in the middle of the page, so I don't think it will take me that long to read. And I've heard just really amazing things, like I said before, about this novel and this series in general. So if you guys do want to check out more self-published authors, you should definitely check out the Shelf Published In Discord. A ton of like buddy reads this month. This is definitely the month of buddy reads, but the next one is also on my list of books to read this year, and I think that video went up last week, so I will link it up here if it did, so that you guys can take a look at what books I'm trying to prioritize this year, and this is one of them. And as soon as I saw that it was the official Shelf Space book club pick of the month, I thought I would jump on it. I have heard nothing but amazing things, and it's definitely a priority for this year, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I mean, how beautiful is this cover? I can't get over it. I think I've said this multiple times, but this cover is beautiful, and a beautiful cover gets me every time. I don't know a ton about this novel, and I want to keep it that way because that's always much better for my enjoyment and my experience. But this is often described as a pre-colonial fantasy standalone novel, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I think it is a combination of fantasy and sci-fi, but I haven't gotten into it to know that for sure. And all I've heard, honestly, are just really, really good things. I know that last year a bunch of book clubs had picked this to read because it did come out in 2020, and all I heard were rave reviews. So I expect nothing less than to love it, or at least really, really enjoy it. And so hopefully it does meet all those expectations. If you've read this, definitely let me know what you thought of it, if it met your expectations or if it didn't, because I feel like I am just going to fall in love with something like this. I also haven't read a pre-Columbian type of fantasy or sci-fi novel before, so this will definitely be a new experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I'm going to enjoy it. And finally, like, the last book on my TBR, which doesn't mean that I don't have more that I want to read, but I thought I would make like a concise list of things that I could possibly get accomplished this month, but we'll see. This one is on my list also because it's one that I want to read earlier rather than later, since there is a Netflix show coming out about it, and that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I have this entire trilogy, and then I also have Six of Crows, but I want to read this first trilogy in the Grisha verse before I get into the Six of Crows duology, which I know that can give spoilers for this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and hopefully read this month. I can't remember when the Netflix show is coming out, but recently a lot of images and teasers have come out, and I think the actors have also been announced, so everyone has been talking about it. Everyone is really hyped about it, and so I want to read this before I get into the series, because sometimes watching the series ends up ruining the books if I watch the series first. But the TV series is never ruined for me if I read the books first, so I try to read the books first every time if I can. And so this bad boy needs to be read this month so that I can finish the other two in the series and then move on to Six of Crows, which I heard will break my heart. So we'll start off with an easier read in the Grisha world. So those were all my picks for the month of February. I think some of them, like Way of Kings, might span over to March just because they are chunky boys, but the rest of them I'm hoping to finish this month because I do have a few other reads that I want to get to in March. I am still so excited for A Court of Silver Flames. I think that one is probably one that I'll drop everything for and just read as fast as I can because it's going to be amazing. That one's going to be a chunker too at 750 pages, but I think we'll get through her pretty fast. If you are reading any of these books at the same time, or if you're interested in any of them, please leave your comments down below. I love hearing about what you guys are reading. If you liked this video, please click the thumbs up button. And if you enjoy my content and you want to see more, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you.